and just give a, so this is the Empathy Circle Facilitators Support Group. And so now Martin is going to be sharing his experience with Empathy Circles in Norway. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah, take it away.
So far, so we've just started 2 weeks ago, I think. And the whole thing, you have to understand where the process came from. It came from, I think I took part in the how to start empathetic actions a couple of weeks ago in February. So I've been kind of modeling the whole empathy cafe that we have online now around kind of what Edvin has been doing here. Also with the papers that you've, the nice paperwork that you've done on background, which I really like, and I've adapted a lot of the manual, the short handlet. I've kind of written it into Norwegian and adapted a little bit more to XR, but it still has the Empathy Cafe or the Culture of Empathy website at the bottom. What we've been kind of doing, we've been kind of trying to grow together in this process. I've done a lot of facilitation work before. This is my first time in this group. So I facilitate the work that reconnects. I've been doing open space facilitation for some time as well, not real open space facilitation. So a good point that always came from open space is the situation where the facilitator should be imagining him or her imagining themselves sitting on a chair, trying to intervene when things aren't going the way as they want to, and then trying to imagine that process and then realizing that you shouldn't really intervene. So what we've been trying to do is we're doing in facilitator training now on Sundays, and we're doing empathy cafes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So what I'm trying to do is kind of do the basic. I looked at the videos that you have, Edvin, as well on the webpage for the facilitator training, and I'm trying to kind of model the first facilitator training. The first time we did this wasn't so successful. Also, we had this problem again that the group didn't really understand the message while having another facilitator in another room that I wasn't a part of. That I tried to kind of fix with this situation where I kind of modeled the conversation. I do the 9-minute video about the Empathy Cafe, and we're trying to translate that to Norwegian. But I also, at the end, I try to kind of model the first conversation in the big group, just to kind of get everybody on board and to really see that everybody has understood the process before we go into the breakout groups. So that was really a really great change that we had, and that made it really easy for the people that were really, really new facilitators. It takes a lot of pressure off their shoulders. And doesn't make them feel uncomfortable, and they can just go along with the conversation, and that really made a big change. So we got some really, really great feedback. Some people were really mind blown in the other group that I wasn't a part of, which was really nice to see. Never had this kind of conversation before, but I also put a lot of emphasis that this is not going to be the normal conversation that you're used to. So we had one empathy cafe that was kind of not so successful. And not everybody got the message, but then we already kind of moved it to the next one. I think that the trick was kind of doing the modeling in the group together with everyone. I really like that from you, Edvin, as well. The modeling part, that was the one thing that stuck. You have to model everything. So I'm seeing that we maybe in like a month, I think we might have facilitators that are okay to do this totally by themselves. But until then, it will be like a follow-along process. But until now, it's been really nice, and we've started to connect people from different parts of the country, which is the first time actually XR has done this in this scale, I think, within a week. So with the Corona crisis coming in, there's a lot more connectivity to the other XR chapters all over the country. And if anybody knows geography, then you know that Norway is just as long as it is from Oslo, which is in the north, to Italy almost. So it's one of the longest countries in the world. So it's the first time that we kind of got this connection going. So so far so good. Been very interesting process. Another thing I also focused on was because when we got the first facilitators, they were ready to go very deep in the process. They were either very experienced with empathy cafes or had a very clear mindset of what it was, but I'm trying to really keep it as simple and as reflective simple in the beginning as possible. I have added, actually, I think I added from Deep Adaptation, I added a guide in the material that I send out every time, and it's called this, what if things are really not going the way they think, everything is horrible guide. And it's a really nice guide, like if things really should be a little bit off for people afterwards, and they have some kind of emotional response that they're not yet aware of, that they have something to rely on and fall back on as well after that. So far, going okay, just taking sure that the right precautions are in place and that people don't go too much into reflecting too deeply in the beginning.
Yeah, I'm curious about what you mean by deep and simple. And
so there is the simple reflecting, but there is also the trying to adapt more to really understand more of the not without lying your emotions into it, but if you have some people who have done this for a while, or some people have the idea that they should be more encompassing the whole personality of the other person, that can really go off if you're not really prepared to what you're doing, what I've experienced. And I'm just repeating from what some of the people that I had as facilitators in the beginning were doing, and they were really going towards that, pushing towards that border where you're kind of not yet putting your own emotions over onto what the other person is saying, but you're getting pretty close, and that was kind of uncomfortable for, I think, more of the group as well. So just keeping, yeah.
I mean, speaking with their emotion rather than the speaker's emotion.
Very close, but you can go pretty far with this without actually doing your own emotionals. That's at least what experience I've had. But it's almost it's bordering to it, and just making sure that people take a step back and just really go back to the basics and reflect the simple words that they hear, and keeping it at a very, very basic level has been kind of the thing I've learned from that.
And do the people who are speaking, do they feel they've got a real permission to say, no, that's not what I wanted to share, or are they able to say, are they able to just say what they feel really safe saying, and saying, no, that's not quite right, that's not quite accurate what you're.
I would say from we've had it in the experience that I had right at the beginning, was the reflection was so accurate, it was actually better than what the person first herself had said. And for me, that would be going a little bit too strong, especially when we're getting new people in who have never tried this before. Marta?
Yeah, thank you, Martin. It's really interesting that you named that because it's, I think it's a really important point that in the empathy circle, we're offering something that is a range, and it, a range of, it's deep, but it's not too deep, so that people feel comfortable within that, and they have the choice of how deep they want to go. And so I feel some facilitators or some people reflecting might have the temptation to go very deep, and that can be out of the comfort zone of the person that they're reflecting. So sometimes, yeah, so it's quite a balance to keep, and also within a 2-hour process, you want people to feel that you're receiving them in empathy, but you don't want to open too many doors if that's the size of the container, and it's not a bigger container that you would have in a Work That Reconnects workshop of a whole day, or yeah. So I really appreciate you stating that so clearly.
Was that, by the way, did I answer everything, Mary?
Yeah, but I'm curious about the whole thing, because that is one of the great benefits of mirroring. We need each other to see who we are and to see what we can't see. And without that, we can't see it. So we really do need good listening, good reflecting, which is more than just parroting words or just keeping it at the surface. You have a whole person. You have a whole person in front of you, and that whole person aches to be seen and heard as a whole person. And so to be able to do that, respecting their limits and all of that, to do it well is something that I think we can strive for. And I think also to give humans a lot of credit, that if someone makes a mistake and realizes, oh gosh, I shouldn't have brought that up. So, that they learn from that, and the other person learns. So that mistakes happen, but we learn from the mistakes on both sides.
Yes, very good, very good. I totally agree with it. So far it's been, but now I think from where we're going and starting off from at the moment is from a very early point. So we're all trying to kind of get to that point together, and that's also for the facilitators whom I'm inviting. I'm inviting basically everyone who wants to have more training and also wants to spend their Sunday on this to kind of develop this together and get to that point together. But for starting at an early point where also we have a very different diverse culture in Norway, and this kind of talking is for many people, this whole experience is very new already to begin with. It's showing some kind of results in the way that people are experiencing, at least what they did last. But we're really trying to start as basic as we can, so we don't create this that there is room for everyone to come in a sense. It doesn't matter what background they kind of have, that they have this safety in the still very logical part of the of thinking. But I'm looking forward to move it further up. But I think that's something that develops naturally when we move on to more sessions.
Sounds like you're doing really good work.
But I hope we'll get there. We'll see. I don't know who was.
Lou had his hand up for some time.
Yeah, I just really wanted to mirror what you're saying too, Martin. That's been my experience too. That if you mirror someone too deeply, they can experience it as being analyzed by someone else, or therapized, therapyized by someone else. And it can also frighten other people in the circle, thinking that when it's their time to reflect, they have to do some giant thing, as opposed to just reflecting back what they are hearing. And as a facilitator, when I'm facilitating a circle, I usually make myself the first listener, and I ask someone else to be the first speaker. And so I'm demonstrating in the way that I reflect what reflection is, and I'm very careful not to do too much. And I'm also part of mirroring is sensing where the other person is emotionally, how open they are, how willing they're deep to go. That's part of mirroring also. So I totally agree with what you are saying, and it matches my experience too.
I had a comment, Martin. I don't know, you're on a cell phone, so I think, so I don't know if you see if people have their hands up. You were creating some training material in Norwegian, the slideshow that is there, that I narrate. You can take that, and I have it on a slideshow if you want to use the full part or parts of it, kind of narrate your own. So I just want to let you know any of those are available. I can just give you the link to it. I think Martha was making a Portuguese version, for example.
I actually took it from your presentation from the facilitator training. So I've kind of moved in the pictures and translated some of that. So it's that's one of I use. But you're welcome to send if there's more material.
Yeah, the full slide deck that you can just take the whole slide deck. You could go in and translate it. So
we also, funny fact is that we have in Norway this language barrier as well, so that there's a large part of the population that don't feel comfortable with speaking English, and then there is all these new XR members that speak English very well from outside the country. So we're doing everything in two languages with different groups as well at the moment.
Okay, then that was the time, I think, and if you're complete with that. Oh, I think Lou had something else.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm really happy to meet you, Martin, and I'm really excited hearing the work that you're doing and the way that you're doing it. So great, go, go, go. And if there's any way that I can support you, I'm happy to do that.
Likewise, I think you're getting a lot of thumbs up here, a lot of twinkle fingers. Okay, so I will